Thank you.
Right, let's go through a few just to check, because I think you know it's easy. And like I've just heard you say, it can't be that easy, but it probably is that easy. So let's go through a couple now. So just to remind you, if you're watching this back, page 6, question 5. So 5a we've already done, but just to do it again, so we've got 3 root 2's. Now I just want to remind you, is everyone paying attention, because this might help you, even if you find it easy. Just to remind you that root 2 is a number, right? The reason why I write 3 root 2's, or can you remind me? Why do I, because this is actually quite important, because if you don't know this, this whole point, the whole thing of doing this doesn't have a point. So why do I write 3 root 2? What does it mean? What is it?
It's a number.
It's a number. It is important to realise it's a number. It's 3 times root 2. Now why do I write 3 times root 2 instead of the number? What's the reason for doing it?
The number's infinite.
Pardon?
The number's infinite.
The number's infinite. Okay, so given it in this form, what did I say? This was a what form? This is doing it in exact form. Because if the number goes on forever, there's no way of writing that whole number, is there? You'd have to round it. Do you understand that point? So what I'm trying to do is, instead of writing out a number that I have to round, I'm trying to keep it in exact form. And I can simplify surds in the same way as algebra, right? So this is 3 lots of whatever root, well, it's 3 times root 2. I could turn that into a number, it's fine. But it's root 2, add root 2, add root 2. It's 3 lots of whatever root 2 is, which I can't write down. Does that make sense? So if I've got 3 lots of whatever root 2 is, and I add 2 lots of whatever root 3 is, does that go together?
Mm-hmm.
No, because root 2 and root 3 are different, aren't they? They're very different, and neither of them can be written. So at the moment, there's nothing I can do. But I could, if I then do, so I've got 3 root 2's, 2 root 3's. If I subtract a root 2, it makes sense that already, if I've got 3 root 2's and I subtract a root 2, I'm left with only 2 root 2's. But before we do that, we finally add 5 root 3's. So what we do is what you've done in algebra, which is collecting like terms. And in algebra, you would do x's and y's, a's and b's, p's and q's, whatever. Then this time, we've got root 2's, okay, and you've got root 3's. They are different, they have to be kept separately. So what you do is you take 3 root 2 minus a root 2, we're left with 2 root 2's. We don't do anything else, there's no need. And we've got 2 root 3's, add 5 root 3's makes 7 root 3's. And that's it. That's simplified. There's no, I could turn that into a number. Do you know how I would turn that into a number? I'd do this. Get the calculator out. Okay. I could do 2 root 2's, okay, and plus 7 root 3's, and the answer would be that, right? 14.953. So 14.953, but I've rounded it to 3 decimal places. Now, this and that are the same thing, but which one would I prefer to write? The one, yeah, exactly, the 2 root 3 plus 7, 2 root 2 plus 7 root 3, because this is exact, right? This is rounded, okay? And it leaves us with errors. So that's why we're doing it, right? So give an answer in simplest form. So if we have part B, let's do it a bit quicker. 7 root 2's, minus 4 root 3 minus 2 root 2 plus 3 root 3's. Right, we've got two terms. We've got the root 2's and the root 3's. So 7 root 2 minus 2 root 2 makes
5 root 2.
5 root 2's. Minus 4 root 3 plus 3 root 3 is?
Root 3.
Sorry, Cliff.
Root 3.
Yeah, but is it plus a root 3 or is it minus a root 3? It's a minus a root 3.
Wait, why don't they put a number? Some of them, it's like just root 2.
Because,
Is it
like
because
there,
of
it's like
the
having a
one?
1. But you don't need to put a 1. But it's like having 1x. It's just an x. Yeah?
Can you do 5 root 2 minus just 3? Or does it have to be root 3?
In this case, in this question, or just in general?
Is it like in general?
Yeah, no, you can have 5 root 3, take away 3, yeah. But you can't simplify again. Because root 3 is not 3, is it?
No.
So, but no, you're right. You could have 5 root 2 minus 3, but again, that would stay.
Mm.
Right, what about minus 6 root 2 minus 2 root 3 minus root 2 plus 6 root 3? What do we have there? So, root 2 minus 6 root 2 minus root 2 makes
Minus 7 root 2
minus 7 root 2's.
plus
And then we've got minus 2 root 3 plus 6 root 3 is
4 root 3.
plus 4 root 3. Good. I'm going to jump so we can move on quite quickly to H. Let's do it together.
Do we also jump? Or?
Yeah, everyone will do this one together and then we'll move on. I think it's quite easy now. What about this one? So we've got 5 root 3 minus 6 root 7 minus 5 plus 4 root 3 plus root 7 minus 8. So this kind of answers what you were talking about, Oscar. So if I said to you, we're doing the whole collecting like terms. Now like means they are ones that can go together. So how many different terms are there in this current calculation? 3. And they are?
They're the root 3, root 7, and the simple one.
And the numbers, yeah. So I've got root 3, I've got the root 7's, the sign goes with what, what the sign is before. So take the sign and the number. So I've got 3 different terms there. So collecting them, so I've got 5 root 3 plus 4 root 3 is?
It's
9 root 3's. So I've done that.
And you do minus 7 root 7.
So it's minus 6 root 7 plus a root 7.
Oh, it's 5 root 7. It's minus.
Plus or minus? Minus, good. 5 root 7. Done and done. And then
And then you do
minus 5,
which
minus
is
8.
positive. Which is positive. Minus times a minus, is it?
Sorry, when did I say times? You're right, a minus times a minus makes a positive,
That's minus.
but we're at, imagine temperature, did it in blue, cold. I'm at minus 5, I've got to go another minus 8. Minus 13. Yeah?
You're adding them.
Yeah, because if you add a minus to a minus, it's going to go down.
Yeah.
So minus
It's a
5,
plus.
subtract another 8.
Then it's add. It's
No.
plus, I said. But you're doing 5 plus 8.
Well,
Minus
if you're at minus 5,
Yes.
and then you get another minus 8, then you're going to have to go down because it can't go up because it's two minuses.
Okay.
Yeah? You get it? It's very different. I want you to get that into your head. Try and remember. Right, you are correct, but everyone seems to make this mistake. Minus times a minus makes a positive. Yeah? Minus times a positive makes a minus. So that's multiplication and division. But it doesn't work with addition and subtraction. You can't always say. Although you can say, if you subtract a negative, it's the same as positive. But I'm not subtracting a negative answer. I'm actually starting at -5 and subtracting 8, positive 8. Do you understand? That is not a negative number. I am at -5, yeah, but I'm subtracting 8. So it's -5 subtract 8. Right? So you can't just take two negatives and go, it always makes positive. It's not true. Yeah? Make more sense, yeah? There is another way. Would everyone fancy another little thing with positives and negatives, just quickly?
If I'm subtracting, you always keep the sign of the bigger number. For example, if it's negative.
Yeah, you could say that. You could keep the sign of whichever ones are larger. Yeah. There is one thing that I seem to find explains adding and subtracting negative numbers and positives. And do you all know about hot air balloons?
Yeah.
Okay. Just going to draw myself a hot air balloon. Okay.
It's not actually a circle. That's an egg.
Yeah, well, how many balloons are circles? Smart ass. Okay, so I've got a hot air balloon. Right, here's the thing. Under here is the flame, yeah? Alright. The flame adds fuel. Alright? So you can either add fuel, alright? So I don't know as a dot. Or under here are, do you know what's on the bottom of
The bags.
the weights? Okay. Now fuel is positive. Weights are negatives.
Go down.
Okay? So here's the thing, right? If you add a weight, what happens to the balloon?
Go down.
It goes down. If you add fuel, it goes up. Alright? If I subtract a weight, if I take a weight off, it goes up. If I take fuel out, it goes down. Okay? So think of it like that. Right? So fuel is a positive, weight is a negative amount. Okay? Now, the balloon can start anywhere on the number line. So here's the thing. Here's my starting point. I'm always going to start from that. If I'm at 6, whatever that means, if I add fuel, I add a positive. So I'm going to add +3. Do you understand the difference between that add and a positive? So I'm adding fuel, which is a positive.
It's 9.
It goes up 3 slots. So it goes up to 9. Alright? So if I add 3 fuel, so it goes up. You understand that? So 6, so what we've got there is 6 plus +3 makes 9. Alright? Let me ask you then. I'm at 6, and this time I add -2. So I'm going to do 6 add -2. So what that means is I add a weight, I add a negative, what happens to the balloon? It goes down, and it goes down to 4. So that would be 4. Making sense?
Yes.
Right. Here's where people start to get a bit different. What if I'm at 6 and I subtract -5? That means I take away 5 weights.
You
go down.
I've taken off weight.
would go up.
Oh, you.
I go up.
What?
How far?
Like higher.
How far? 5. 5
11.
slots for everyone you take off.
11.
So I go 5 up. So I go to 11.
Wow.
So 6 subtract 5 makes 11. Now, here's where we get. It looks like a negative and a negative makes a
Positive.
positive. And it's kind of like that, although it's, if I subtract a negative, it's a positive. But if I add a negative, it's the same as negative. If I did 6 subtract positive 2,
That would be negative.
what happens? So I take away 2 fuels, what happens?
You go down.
I'm going down to 4.
Yeah.
So that would be,
4.
so subtract a positive is also like subtracting. Okay? So actually for me that's a good way of thinking about adding and subtracting negative numbers. It also depends on where you start from. Because let's just say I've got a magic balloon that starts at -3, whatever that means, height-wise. I can do the same thing again. So -3, but I'm going to add 3 fuels. What does it end up at?
It ends up at 6.
Think about it. Don't look at numbers, think about what's actually happening with the balloon. I'm at -3, I add 3 fuels, that means it's going to go up 3 spaces, so it ends up at 0. Think it through. I'm at -3, I go 3 up. No, not minus. Alright, I'm at -3. Right, if I'm at -3 and I add 2 weights. What? -5. Okay. If I'm at -3 and I subtract 5 weights.
I know. It's 8.
You're not thinking it through.
But minus
No, you're not thinking of the balloon situation. You're just looking at numbers and going, yeah, 3 and 5 make 8.
No.
You're? Shall I?
I'm checking on the minus.
If you -3,
So I'm at -3, I subtract 5 weights, which means it's going to go up 5. So I'm at -3, I have to go up 5. What do I end up at? 2.
2.
Temperature, -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2. Yeah? And just finally, -3, subtract 2 fuels, take fuel out. Careful, Razna. What happens if you take fuel out?
You go, it's -5.
You go down,
Wait.
so you end up at
-5.
-5.
Because you're minusing +2. Right?
So yes, exactly. We're just taking away 2 off -3. Okay. So here's the thing with adding and subtracting negative numbers. Stay with us, Emily. Close your eyes. Here's the thing. It's not. There is the rule about 2 negatives and positive and so on, like you do with your multiplication. But it's got nothing to do with the answer. Do you understand that? When you multiply 2 negatives, the answer is positive. But when you add and subtract, it's nothing to do with the answer, it's what you do. So if I subtract a negative, it's the same as adding. But the answer could end up being positive or negative. That doesn't matter. Do you understand? You've just got to figure out, if you like, what does the balloon do? Does the balloon go up? Does the balloon go down? And remember where you start from. So just to remind us, just one more thing. So, Joao maybe needs to take a look. Number lines, if I have a 0, below it is
-1.
negatives. Okay? -4 and so above it is positives. Now, if you're in the negatives, if I'm at -3 and I add 5 to it,
You go up.
I don't do 3 add 5 and make 8. If I add 5, I've got to go out of the negatives to 0 and then go another whatever's left.
2.
To 2. Okay? Add 5, which you've all done over and over again.
But that one, the last one that we did,
Yeah.
If you scroll to the left, okay, yeah, the
Minus 3,
You did not do
subtract
that.
2. I did. So I'm at, let's do it
You
again.
are at 2.
Minus 3,
Yeah.
and I have to subtract
5.
positive 2. Is that what I said?
No. You need to say 5.
Subtract
Okay, yes,
positive 2. Okay,
So you add
so there you go. So I'm subtracting fuel, which means I go
Down.
down
Go
2.
down.
Subtracting fuel, I go down 2. I end up at minus 5.
No, but the fuel makes you go up.
It
Exactly.
takes away
So if I
fuel.
take
How
fuel
do you
out,
take
So if
the
you don't have
fuel
as much
out?
fuel, you have to go down.
get it? Cool. Okay, let's get back to, so that explained, be very careful when you're doing these add and subtraction. Okay? Make sense? Alright. What we'll have to do next time. Stop.
Number 2.
Okay, so for your homework, so you can review this, I want you to do question 2, A through F. Right, so that's page 139. So I'm just going to do the first one with you. 3 root 3s multiplied by 2 root 2s. Now that's the same as 3 times root 3 times 2 times root 2. We've done this before actually. So then I can do the 3 times the 2 makes 6. And I've got root 3 times root 2. So what can that be changed to? Do you remember? But 6 times root 3 times 2, because you put these together, which becomes 6 root 6. Okay? So remember, it's on the video. So A is done for you, so I can get you to do the rest. They shouldn't take very long. Okay?